You know, it's fairly common knowledge that if you ride a lot, especially on the highway, and you do not wear earplugs, you're going to do some damage to your hearing. And for those of you who have ridden for years without earplugs, it's not too late to save the hearing that you've still got. So this week on MCrider, let's talk about earplugs. What's the best earplug to use? We'll look at 4 different options, and I'll tell you which one of these 4 is my clear favorite. Riders who are exposed to wind noise for a long period of time will experience hearing loss in the long term. It's not something that'll happen overnight, but all of us should have the goal of one day being an old motorcyclist. And if you reach your goal without wearing ear protection, you'll likely lose some hearing along the way. Wearing earplugs under your helmet is the best way to protect your hearing, or if you've already lost some, protect what you've got left. Here's some arguments that I hear from riders against wearing earplugs. They say, I don't need earplugs because I don't have a loud motorcycle. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the wind that causes the hearing loss. I've heard, I don't wear earplugs because I wear a full face helmet or I've got a windshield. It doesn't matter. You're still exposed to dangerous levels of wind noise over the long term. I've heard, I don't wear earplugs because I want to hear cars around me. Well, you can still wear earplugs and still hear the traffic around you as well. And I've heard, I don't wear earplugs because I use a Bluetooth communicator while I ride. Well, I do too, and I can hear it better on the highway with earplugs in because the audio from the Bluetooth is not competing against the wind noise in my helmet. Okay, now that some of those objections are out of the way, once you get used to the sensation of riding with earplugs, it's a much more relaxing experience. And you'd be surprised at the level of fatigue that's added to a longer ride when you constantly hear that wind rushing through your helmet. It's important to note that any hearing you do lose won't return on its own over time. So once it's gone, it's gone. So protect the hearing you have or protect the hearing that you've got left and ride with earplugs. Now, over the years, I've used a wide variety of different earplugs, and some are better than others for a rider's needs. In general, what you're looking for a good pair of riding earplugs is something that's comfortable under a helmet. Now, I always wear a full face helmet, and you want something that doesn't stick out. You've seen some of those earplugs that have a really long stem on it that sticks out. If you wear a full face helmet, that gets annoying over time because it's rubbing up against the inside of the helmet. You want an earplug that will stay in place. Now, I've fought this with some earplugs in the past too. So what we're talking about is you get that earplug in, you start riding down the road, the vibrations of riding or something causes that thing to loosen up, and it gets loose inside your ear and it's not sealed. So now you're riding, you got one ear that's wide open, you got one ear that's still plugged, and your only decision at that point is to deal with it or to pull over, take your helmet off, readjust the earplug, and then continue on your way. So you want something that's going to stay put once you get your helmet on. Another important point on earplug security is having an earplug that will stay in place when you take your helmet off. Because there's nothing like pulling into a parking lot, pulling your helmet off, and your earplug comes out and it's bouncing along the parking lot. Especially, we'll talk about these custom earplugs, especially these guys, man, that's rubber, and those things will bounce a long way if they come out of your ear on a parking lot. Which leads me to another point on earplug selection is pick a bright color for your earplugs. If you drop one on a parking lot, and I've dropped a few, a brightly colored earplug is much easier to find on the pavement than a black one. So they're easier to find on a parking lot. They're also easier to fish out of a motorcycle bag when they're brightly colored, like these bright orange ones I've got here. That's yellow. So now that we've got some general things to look for in a good riding earplug, let's look at a few options, and I'll tell you which ones are my particular favorite. So here I've got 4 options of earplugs. We start with the cheapest foam earplugs. We go to a very common type, the type that's got that stem on it, a custom earplug, and these earplugs by Decibels. And I'll talk about, I've been writing with these over the last week or so. I'll talk about what I like, what I don't like. And we'll start with the cheapest, off the shelf earplugs. I bought these at an auto parts store. I used to have a big bin of these things because I used to ride with these all the time. But I bought these at an auto parts store for the purpose of the review. They work really well. These are cheap. Individual pairs of these can be purchased for less than $1. They stay in place and they're really comfortable underneath the helmet. Now, I've purchased these in bulk, like I said, from Amazon or Northern Tool and Equipment. I got these at an auto parts store. So you can get these all over at Walmart, just about anywhere that you're at. And if you're out on a trip and you need a cheap pair of, earplugs, these things could be a lifesaver if you're out on a trip. The only real downside to these is they're only good for a few uses. So when you use these, you roll this foam up like this, and then you insert that into your ear. Over time, that foam gets really soft, and it won't stay rolled up long enough for you to get that plug in your ear. And if you're in a hot climate like we are here in Texas, they get really soft if you leave them on the motorcycle, so it gets even harder to get in your ear. So they're only good for a few uses, plus they get really dirty after a few uses. They're good for a few uses, so you're constantly carrying several of these around with you so that you've always got a replacement set when the ones you've got are gone after a use or two. So the pros on these foam ones, they work really well. They're inexpensive. They're comfortable. The cons, they only are good for 1 to 3 uses, so you have to carry several pairs with you almost at all times. Next are what I call a broad category of different types of earplug, and you'll see a lot of these on Amazon. It's just that basic plug that's got a stem on it. These are by MotoSafe and by Alpine Hearing, and the name of them are MotoSafe. This is the Tour model. These caught my eye on Amazon because these were made specifically for motorcyclists. They were $18 when I bought them, and they had generally good reviews on Amazon. They claim on the box that they're good for about 100 plus uses. They're small, and they come with this little carrying pouch, so you can keep this on your motorcycle bag or, in your pocket when you're off of the motorcycle, so that's kind of a nice thing to have. So a lot of these different plugs like this have this filter in place that allows some sound to get through but protects you from the dangerous levels of sound. That way you can still hear cars that they claim, you can still hear cars around you and things like that, but it lowers the noise floor enough from the wind on the highway so that it's not damaging to your ears. These claim that they block about 17 decibels of sound. They're very comfortable under a helmet. In fact, once you've got these in, you don't really even know that they're there anymore. As you can see, they're really soft. That's a really flexible earplug. But they're perhaps too small and too soft because I had a hard time getting these in my ear. So unless you do, the reach around like that and lift your ear up, it makes it really hard to get that in. And then another important thing, when you've got that plug in there, it's got this little stem. If you get that stem at the bottom part of your ear, it's hard to get that earplug back out. Man, I thought I had lost one of them in there. I couldn't get that thing back out because the whole plug is really flexible. That's part of what makes it comfortable, but that's also what makes it hard to get in and out of your ear. So the next ones on our list are these custom molded earplugs. I've had these for a couple of riding seasons now. You can get these at, a lot of motorcycle shows, places like that. Several years ago, I got a custom set of these molded earplugs made at the International Motorcycle Show. They range anywhere in price from $70 to $50, which is kind of pricey in my opinion. I think that's probably about 25 cents in materials and $49.75 in labor to make them for you. These types of plugs work really well though. They're custom made for you on the spot. So what they do is you sit in a chair and they have a large syringe and they inject this material into your ear canal, and you sit for 10 or 15 minutes while the solution cures, and what you end up with is this soft rubber earplug that's made custom to fit your ear. It does seem that some of the materials that a few of these are made out of, they shrink or something over time. This pair has not done that, but I've had some in the past that after about 6 months of use, they didn't fit as tight or as well as they originally did when I got them made. But you can clean these, you know, with gentle soap and water, and you can reuse them for years. I've had these, I think, 2 years now, and they're still in great shape, and they still, you know, do the job that they did when I originally got them. These have the little filter, I guess, in place there, so that it allows some sound to go through, so they work better for a Bluetooth headset on, but still blocks out those dangerous levels of sound. The problem to me with this type of earplug is the cost and finding a place that makes them. Now, if you want to go this route, you can find them at motorcycle shows that have a good vendor presence, especially the International Motorcycle Show. I also called an audiologist, and a lot of audiologists make these in a place where they'll check your hearing. And some hunting supply stores like Cabela's or Bass Pro, if you've got one of those in the area, or a big hunting supply store will make these, because a lot of shooters use these when they're out on the range. The last option that we'll talk about is perhaps my new favorite earplug of all of them, and that's from a company called Decibullz. So Decibels is kind of a combination of a custom and off-the-shelf earplug that was really interesting to me. So when I was searching for earplugs for this review, I came across these that had really good reviews, and I thought it was really interesting. I'd never seen anything like this before. And they combine a lot of what I like about all of these other earplugs. They were, you know, the price was right on them. They were $26 at the time of this purchase. They have a wide variety of colors. I got the red ones, but they've got some bright colors as well. So if you drop it out on a parking lot, they're easy to find. They come with multiple tips. So these tips right here, they've got 3 different sizes of tips that you can put on there, so you can get a fit that's just right for you. And when you originally get these, this red part here is kind of squared off. And you put that whole thing in boiling water, and you let it sit in water for about 5 minutes in a cup, and then you pull that out with a spoon and make sure that, you know, it's not going to burn your ear. And then you insert this whole thing with the tip in there on your ear. So let me get it turned around. You insert that in your ear, and then you just start molding it to the inside of your ear, so that you get a custom fit. And you can see, you know, these are a really tight fit on me. And because that plastic gets hard over time, that makes them easy to get in and out. And it also locks those earplugs in place. I mean, that's really secure. I've not had them moving around at all whenever I'm putting helmet on or taking it off or going down the highway. These have worked, you know, really well for me so far. The good thing about this plastic is if you don't get a good fit initially, you can just put that back in hot water and you can remold this to, you know, get the perfect fit. So it's not kind of one and done thing. If you don't get it right the first time, you can heat them up again and you can give it a second shot. So this part goes into your ear canal. This part, this red plastic, does get kind of hard. I mean, it's a hard plastic once it cures. So you want to make sure that you get it all the way into your ear and that it's smooth and you don't have things sticking out. That's particularly important to us because when you've got that earplug in your ear, you want to make sure there's nothing sticking out because it could be painful, you know, as you're putting your helmet on or taking it off. But I will say this was my first attempt at making these, and I've not had to remold them at all. It was very easy to do, and I got a good fit from them the first time I tried to make them. So because of that custom molded part, these are the most secure earplugs that I've tried. They're easy to get in, they're easy to take out. They stay in place once you've got them in place. They're low profile, so there's no problem with them being uncomfortable under a helmet. and you can remold the plastic if you have any fit issues later down the road. So here we got 4 different options of earplugs for protecting your hearing and a variety of prices. But for me, there's one clear winner. I'm going to move these out of the way because these Decibels are my new go-to earplug. I'll have a link for these. In fact, I'll have a link to the others if they can be purchased off of Amazon. All of them can be, except for these custom molded plugs. But I'll have a link for these in particular at the bottom of this video. Before I started testing these different earplugs, I was fully expecting to recommend to you guys to find a set of these custom plugs because I've been using these for several years. But I was really surprised by these Decibels, the way that they work, the security that you get from them. Now, I've not used them long term yet. I've just been using them for a little over a week. So we'll see how well, this part of the plug works. But my initial impressions of them are very high, and I'm going to wear these until I can't wear them anymore. And then we'll see about ordering some new tips for it or just ordering another set. They're cheap enough that you can replace them if you need to down the road. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. If you've got a particular earplug that you like or something that you would recommend over these, I'd love to hear your ideas on it as well. And until next week, guys, it's Ken with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.
Cut, 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 cut. Orange. Orange again. He said orange. Will somebody write it down for him? Man, I can't work this way. Orange, orange, orange. Dan knows it's yellow. Jerry Palladino, yellow. MCrider, orange. Everything is orange.